What's going on, guys? My name is RagingRaptor and I welcome you to a new World of Tanks video, and today we are focusing on the Frontline game mode. And today I want to give you some tips and tricks you should or must know, in my personal opinion, to perform well in the Frontline game mode. Because Frontline is now around for quite some time and it makes it, well, there are some tips and tricks around which can make this game mode a lot easier. So now let's jump in with the first one. The first one being obviously which things you should use, which consumables you should use. And here it is pretty darn simple if you decide to play the same way I personally do. And again, my personal playstyle gave me the most success as I'm focusing on capping and decapping. I will show you in the second point why exactly this is so important. So if you want to do capping and decapping, you 100% need the engineering skill fully evolved up to level 5. Seriously. The engineering skill is absolutely amazing in this game. Why exactly? Because it allows you to, well, as a defender at least, to block the cap for up to 15 seconds. And if the enemy is still standing in the cap even though you blocked him, you constantly get decap points. And those decap points are valuable. They are immensely valuable, which I'm going to show you in just a bit in some gameplay examples. So, but let's say it like this, the engineering gives you something else. For example, it allows you, when you drive into the circle, into the capture zone as a defender, to completely block it. So for example, if you're playing a defender as the defender team and driving into the defending circle, then you are 100% going to rack up a lot of points. Good positions are, for example, on A in the alt map. I already did a guide about this one right there, so maybe check this one out. Another thing is you are getting an 80% capture bonus if you're an attacker, meaning you will capture the circle 80% faster, which is obviously an amazingly cool feature to have. Plus you are resupplying your tank 50% slower and the circle is 50% faster up again, which especially helps you a lot. Seriously, I 100% have to say there are almost no exceptions on what tank you should not take engineering. Engineering really is something for every single tank. There are maybe some tanks you don't want to take it. Presumably, it's another tip I'm going to give you later on, where we are focusing on which zone or what tank to pick in which zone. The second thing I started to love since this season is the airstrike. The airstrike has a 2-second wind up, it has the stun bonus, it detracts people and it can do massive amounts of damage. The most notable feature is that it deploys in just 2 seconds. It gives most enemies absolutely no counterplay if you know where you're aiming. And it deals a shite ton of damage. Sorry for using that language, but it is as it is. You can do so much damage with the airstrike, it's phenomenal. For example, you can do 700 damage easily on a Rheinmetall Borsig Waffenträger. You are stunning him, you're doing tons of crits, and if you're stunning him and he's not repairing the stun, well, you also get the stun damage. And another thing is, it is bombarding everything so much that there is barely any way to get out. So for decapping, the airstrike is phenomenal. Seriously, as a decapper or as a defender, as a heavy tank, you have to get airstrike. The last one is a little bit controversial. When I was talking with friends about it, I personally like to take Inspire. Inspire is pretty darn fun and good in my opinion because it allows you to boost your own crew by up to 15%. But it also allows your allies around you to get boosted by up to 15%. And those boosted values, well, they're pretty darn neat as you are getting points when they are doing damage. It sadly doesn't work against the guns, which would be cool, but so far it can be wonderful when you're starting to push into a flank. This is why I usually always used it back in the days when the scouts had free slots. But now for heavies, it's equally as good. And I have to say, for some medium tanks, I actually prefer it over the airstrike, but on most cases, airstrike is just so much more flexible. Again, if you're playing artillery or scout, 100% of the time take engineering. Only if you're saying, for example, my Senlac is a dedicated attacker's light, a light you're going to use only in the last zone, then you could say take something else. But yeah, medium tanks and TDs, I personally say for medium tanks, go for Airstrike. For TDs, maybe take Inspire, but Airstrike is still a super good option as an attacker as well as a defender. And for heavy tanks, lastly, either take something like Recon Flight, Smokescreen, or Inspire, it's up to you. I personally consider Inspire to be more important, but yeah, that's just how I personally see it. Now let's jump to the next point. Next point being, what are the most important things? Capping and decapping. If you're an attacker, try to cap. I have in the background some replays you can see what exactly is happening. Like, just the best example is, we were lucky at the E-spawn on the alt map to get 170 capture points. This literally meant that I jumped 2 ranks, from lieutenant up to major. It is insane how many points or rank up points you get through capping. Please, that is insanely important how much you get from capping. Also, it is very important to note that sometimes if you're a defender, because as a defender you can also rack up a lot of damage, or rather a lot of rank up points. The issue is, as a defender, you can't always farm just one circle. After 200 points, it's over and you don't get any more. Then I highly suggest for you to reset, go somewhere else, take another cap, or let the enemies capture. This is a point I'm going to talk about in a bit, but it's important that every single Frontline game takes as long as possible. Even if you're already general, don't be a dickhead and rush the guns. Don't be a dickhead and keep on decapping. Try to let the enemies advance and take as much time as possible in the Frontline game mode. Be social. Seriously, it's very important. But again, I can't stress it enough. With my build, with the engineering at level 5, you can do so much through capping and decapping. And I was, in the last 3 games, I was the first one to achieve general because I had just so many decaps and cap points, depending if I was an attacker or a defender. And again, this is why I think artillery airstrike is so good, because it's so quick to go in. Even if you don't do damage, it is enough to stun and block the enemies for capping for 15 seconds, which is a very, 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 very long time. Next point, which is, in my opinion, platoon with some buddies. I was platooning today with a buddy and some viewers. It was fun. But please, platoon. Why exactly? Because it makes a 1 versus 59 game a 3 versus 57 game. It sounds awkward, but you are 3 people. You can, in theory, YOLO rush a target, you can YOLO rush a cap, you can YOLO defend a cap. You have a huge impact with just 3 people, especially if you are a coordinated team. So this, and obviously it makes it a lot more fun to play in Platoon, let's be honest. If you have some friends around, go for it, it's fun, seriously, go for it, it's so much trollololo. Cheers, it makes some fun, seriously. But, and this is a big but, another thing I want to talk about. It's small, but if you or your friend have a premium account and you're playing in Platoon, well, you're getting 15% more base credits. Sure, 15% doesn't sound that much, but when you have a good round, it can be up to 50,000 credits plus, which you're just getting from playing in Platoon, which is, in my opinion, something you shouldn't cough at. It's something very, very good, and you usually get an additional 24,000 credits. Again, it's just 24,000, but you're playing in Platoon, you're playing with friends, you have more impact into the game, and it's some more credits, really. You can't complain about more credits, let's be honest. 24,000 credits is roughly what you're getting additionally when you have a good win and not spamming premium rounds as a tier 10 tank. So yeah, that is why I think tuning is a very, very good thing to do. Next up, I would suggest to just try and play 4 vehicles only at max. Because the issue is, in the game, auto resupply and auto repair can also rack up a lot of credits. Also, depending if you're using rations, for example, playing like 5 or 6 different vehicles and you have rations in all of those tanks, you're losing 120,000 credits in theory, which is a shite ton of credits. I also suggest to you to not use rations if you don't have them on storage, because in Frontline you can rack up massive amounts of credits. Yes, rations are amazing and are great to be used in this mode, because if you're just using 2 tanks, you can get a load out of them. But if you don't have them on store or storage, I would suggest don't do it, because you're losing 20, 40, 50, 60, almost 100,000 depending how many tanks you're playing per game. And it can be quite a lot of minus you're going to do or losing a lot of credits for by just using rations, you know. But while only having 4 specific vehicles, it allows you to focus on them, get better with them obviously, maybe grind them out obviously, and in the end not use too much rations, not use too much repairs. Because if your tank gets destroyed 3 times or 1 times, it doesn't matter. You only get built once. So, and obviously also something you have to point out is that you are not going to get you don't have to pay for more rounds than you actually use, which is also something very, very important to note. There is a maximum cap on rounds you have to be used, or you can use at maximum. Okay, this sounds a little bit weird, but point is, for example, in my what's it called? In my Renegade, I have 25 AP rounds, and I usually only shoot AP rounds, maybe a little bit of HE here and there. But I was shooting 34 rounds in the game mode, yet I only got built for 25 rounds. So, meaning the less tanks you play, the more you can get for free from wargaming when it comes to rounds being spent. Just something to also keep in mind. However, I do consider it to be a good idea if you have a lot of tanks to have specialized tanks. For example, if you're an attacking team, maybe go for a defender, for example. If you're in the defending team, maybe consider to have, for example, a light tank which is fast in the late game zone where the guns are, with, for example, inspiration to help out your team allies and so on and so forth. Or have something in the back or in the last stage of the game where you don't need Pioneer, because Pioneer doesn't help you as much anymore when there are nothing to cap or decap anymore. This is what I mean with have specialized tanks. Next thing is please often use your tab key. Why exactly? You want to see what is going on your front. You can't really see it on the replays because it isn't captured there, but please use the tab key. Why exactly? Because tab keys help you so much to assess. Can you push forward? Can you push through the enemy? Or are there like 10 people while you are just 5 as an attacking team? Then it's obviously a stupid idea to try and push through because you're just getting slaughtered, you know? Tab helps you to know where exactly the enemies are and if you even have a chance of attacking or defending. Seriously, use the tab key often, and especially use it if you're changing lanes. Again, Frontline, you have 3 lanes, the left, middle and right hand side. As soon as you go from middle to left, use the tab key to assess what is going on, what are the people doing, where are they aiming at, etc, etc, etc. Tab is very much your friend in that game mode. Next thing is, make the games as long as possible. I already said it when we talked about platooning, but please guys, please. Frontline is an incredible team-based game mode. As far as I know, you do not get anything additional when it comes to winning. You do not get more points, you don't get more credits, you don't get more experience. But what you can do is be a social guy, and for example, if you are already general and you are an attacking team, don't cap. Let other people cap. Maybe try to do some damage on other people. If you're already general or very close to getting general, don't YOLO the guns. Seriously. Please, pretty please, with a sugar on top and a cherry on top. And some whipped cream. Do not YOLO the guns. And as a defender, use your brain. Do not always just jump right in and screw everybody over. If you see that after like there's 2 minutes left of the game and the enemy didn't even capture one thing, maybe you and your platoon buddies go back. Go a little bit back, let them capture. It is worth your time, it helps you and it helps everybody else. Seriously. The longer the game goes in Frontline, the better for everybody involved. I know there are some idiots out there which don't do that and they're simply just YOLO. As soon as they have done one thing, they YOLO for the guns. It's stupid. It's 100% stupid. Refrain of doing it. Focus on the caps first. Make the game last as long as possible. The longer the game goes, naturally, the more experience, the more credits you get. Naturally, the more people can achieve higher ranks. Seriously, this game mode is not just about you, it's about everybody. And pretty please don't YOLO the guns. If you see the enemy has a hard time capturing, maybe back off a little bit, get yourself a cup of coffee, which takes maybe 2 minutes, and let them capture something. It is for your help, or rather it's in your interest, that the games take as long as possible. I don't think that it will help a lot of me saying this, but please do this, it helps everybody. Now let's go to the last point of today's video. Use your boosters. Again, in Frontline usually you can get most out of your boosters because the games tend to be long. However, I highly suggest to try and use the 1 hour boosters. Because, and this is very simple, usually a Frontline game takes around 23 minutes, or maybe even some are shorter, some are longer. But let's try and say you had very fast games, you had 19-minute games, and you have a 1 hour booster running. You can squeeze out 1 more game with just 3 minutes of boosters left. And those 3 minutes of boosters just mean that you have for an entire game your boosters. If you would go, for example, in Stronghold, the boosters would last maybe like 5 minutes, or a 5-minute game, or in a random maybe a 7-minute game. You can get a lot more out of your boosters. And let's be honest, if you're just playing the game and you're grinding normally and you see, oh, I have like 2 more minutes of boosters left, maybe say, I don't know, I play a game of Frontline. Because you can min-max so much of your boosters when you are playing Frontline. Again, the games usually tend to take around 20 minutes, so you can do shite ton loads more with those boosters than just, you know, running around. So I personally suggest you rather focus on 1 hour boosters to be used rather than 2 hour boosters for Frontline, because again, you can sometimes squeeze out this 1 more game with just 2 minutes of booster left. And you can do it, you have 2 chances to do it rather than just 1. So yeah, that sums it up, I would say. This is everything I got for you today when it comes to Frontline. If you have any more suggestions or ideas, let me know in the comment section below, and I will make a pinned comment with some more ideas or some more tips and tricks. I hope they were worth your while, and if they were, let me know in the comment section below, and please consider subscribing if you haven't already. I'm still a small little YouTuber, but I try my best to give you the best content possible and helpful content at that point. However, I am more focused sometimes on doing new stuff than doing helpful content. However, I do switch between those two. My name is RagingRaptor, please stay safe, please stay at home, and as always, thanks so much for watching, and I'll talk to you all later.